Hello, guys! You were listening Beautiful History, How to Make Plane in the World. Conquering the Sky, the Birth of Human Flight, the Dream that Lived in the Sky. For thousands of years, humankind has looked up at the sky and wondered what it would feel like to fly. From the earliest days of civilization, long before technology, engines, or machinery existed, people watched birds soar freely over mountains, oceans, and forests. They admired the effortless grace with which these creatures glided across the horizon. Flying became a symbol of freedom, a dream that lived inside the human heart. From ancient myths of flying chariots to the wings of Icarus crafted by Daedalus, every culture carried stories of flight. Though these legends were not real, they represented a deep desire within humans to break free from the ground. This dream continued into the Middle Ages. Inventors tried to build wings made of feathers, silk, bamboo, or wood. Many jumped from towers or hills, believing that flapping their arms or wings would let them soar. Most failed painfully, but each failure carried humanity one step closer to understanding the science behind the dream. By the 15th century, a man emerged whose imagination was far ahead of his time: Leonardo da Vinci. With detailed sketches and anatomical study of birds, he imagined gliders, flying machines, and even a primitive parachute. But his era lacked engines, materials, and scientific knowledge. His ideas stayed on paper, waiting for a future world that could bring them to life. The dream of flying was alive, but unrealized. Humanity needed science. It needed engineering. It needed brave souls willing to challenge the impossible. And the dawn of that revolution began in the late 19th century. The age of experimentation begins. By the mid-1800s, many scientific breakthroughs had already transformed the world: steam engines, electricity, and new discoveries in physics. Innovators started to believe that flight was no longer just mythology, it could be engineered. A German aviation pioneer, Otto Lilienthal, became known as the Glider King. In the 1990s, he created carefully designed gliders and successfully performed over 2,000 controlled flights. His work brought a new understanding of aerodynamics, lift, drag, and wind shape. But one tragic crash in 1896 took his life. His final words echoed across history: "Sacrifices must be made." His research deeply influenced two brothers living in Dayton, Ohio, simple bicycle makers who would soon change the world forever. Their names were Wilbur and Orville Wright, the brothers who looked to the sky. The Wright brothers were not rich, not famous, and not scientists by profession. Yet what they lacked in formal education, they made up for with curiosity, hard work, and a burning passion for invention. They studied Lilienthal's research, read books on bird flight, and even built their own wind tunnel to study aerodynamic forces. Their bicycle shop gave them knowledge of balance, lightweight structures, and mechanical precision, all crucial for building an airplane. But the world did not believe in them. Many journalists mocked the idea of heavier-than-air flight. Scientists argued that it was impossible for any machine to lift a human off the ground. Yet the Wright brothers continued their experiments quietly on the windy sands of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The location was chosen for its strong winds, high dunes, and isolation, far from the eyes of critics. From 1900 to 1902, they tested gliders, redesigned wing shapes, and discovered that controlling an aircraft in the air was far more difficult than simply flying. They invented the revolutionary concept of wing warping, enabling pilots to roll the aircraft and maintain balance. This was the birth of modern flight control. Now all they needed was a powered machine. The birth of the first airplane. In 1903, the Wright brothers built a lightweight engine with the help of their mechanic, Charlie Taylor. The aircraft was constructed using spruce wood, muslin cloth, and a custom engine producing 12 horsepower. They named it the Wright Flyer. It weighed 605 pounds and had a wingspan of 40 feet. But would it fly? On the cold morning of December 17, 1903, history stood still. A few local witnesses gathered near the dunes. The wind blew strong and steady. The brothers tossed a coin to decide who would take the first attempt. Orville won. At exactly 10:35 a.m., Orville Wright, lying flat on his stomach aboard the flyer, released the machine down the rail track. The engine roared, the propellers spun, the aircraft lifted shakily into the cold air. It flew for 12 seconds, covering 120 feet. Humanity had left the ground. For the first time in history, a powered, controlled flight was achieved by humans. Their fourth and final flight that day, piloted by Wilbur, lasted 59 seconds and covered 852 feet. The dream of thousands of years had finally come true. Humanity had conquered the sky. From skepticism to revolution. News of the Wright brothers' achievements spread slowly. Many newspapers refused to believe the story, claiming that flying machines were impossible. But the brothers continued improving their designs. By 1905, their Flyer 3 could fly for over a half an hour and make complete circles. Finally, the world could no longer deny their success. In the years that followed, aviation spread rapidly across Europe and America. Pilots became global celebrities. Air shows attracted millions. Engineers experimented with stronger engines, metal frames, and new wing shapes. The invention of the airplane changed everything. Transportation, warfare, communication, and global travel. It made the world smaller and more connected. By 1927, Charles Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic Ocean in a single-engine airplane. By the 1930s and 40s, commercial airlines began carrying passengers worldwide. By 1969, humans flew beyond the sky to the moon. None of this would have been possible without that first flight in 1903, crafted by two brothers in a bicycle shop. Why the first flight matters today. The Wright brothers showed the world that dreams are reachable. Their success proved that curiosity, science, and determination can transform imagination into reality. Today's jumbo jets, fighter jets, drones, and even spacecraft all carry the same DNA born in the Wright Flyer's wings. When we travel across continents in hours instead of months, we are living inside the legacy of December 17, 1903. When astronauts return from space to Earth's atmosphere, they rely on aerodynamics that came from the Wright brothers' discoveries. When children look up at the sky and imagine flying, they echo the same dream humans lived with for thousands of years. The legacy lives on. The original Wright Flyer now rests proudly in the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. Millions of visitors walk past it each year, looking at the wooden frame that changed human civilization forever. On that cold December morning, the Wright brothers didn't just fly, they opened the door to the sky. Their invention reminds us, every great achievement begins with a dream. Every dream begins with a question, and every question leads to a new sky waiting to be conquered. Final note. The story of the airplane is not just a story about a machine. It is a story of human courage, curiosity, and the relentless desire to explore the unknown. From ancient myths to modern jets, from paper sketches to space-age technology, flight represents the power of human imagination. Because the sky was never the limit. It was always the beginning.